Hi, I'm Ricardo Avila.
And I'm Greg Knight.
Greg and I would like to invite you to listen to our once in a while podcast, the PC Music Diary.
That's right. Ricardo and I chat with each other about our favorite songs around a common theme, artist, or genre, and present our personal top 5 songs on the topic.
Now, this isn't just your standard music podcast, though. We also reflect on how the songs we choose weave their way into our lives.
Yeah, it's like you're literally reading our personal diaries through the lyrics of Morrissey, Prince, Whitney Houston, and Eddie Vedder.
Well, maybe not Eddie Vedder.
What do you mean? Like when he sings, that doesn't remind you of your first pet?
So listen to PC Music Diary in the Popping Collars feed.
I miss you, Fluffy.
What comes next is far from clear.
Hi, I'm Greg Knight.
Hey, Ryan Parker.
And this is the PC Pilgrimage Project, a Popping Collars side pod where Ryan and I attempt to walk around the world. This month, we are talking about the New Zealand documentary Camino Skies.
They're looking for something in their life because of a particular crisis that happened.
I'm hoping to be able to walk the whole Camino.
And asked my husband, Paul, you search for meaning.
You don't know who you're walking with.
You've got to keep your head down and you've got to keep going.
I'm going to die. I'm going to die in the ditch, look.
All right.
We're all very different people.
You get half a certificate each. People say, oh, I couldn't go any further. Yes, you can.
Come on, sweetie.
Don't call me sweetie.
Hey, come on, darling.
Righto, let's go.
And one step at a time, you reach the top.
Body's screaming. I can do it. I can do it.
It was freaking hard.
Everybody's hurting.
I know your pain.
We need each other's help.
The beauty of being in a group is we all do look out for each other.
I know a lot of people do the Camino on their own, but I think that would have been too hard.
Right now, I'm heading for coffee.
You know, life is so short. Let the good times roll.
Yay! The Camino is life.
Just stop thinking elderly. We're not elderly.
We're not elderly, we're young.
Don't put that in the movie.
I got a brief description of the movie.
I want to hear it.
Not really that brief. But the logline is exploring themes of spirituality, well-being, and religion. This is the inspirational journey of 6 strangers from New Zealand and Australia, walking the 800-kilometer Camino de Santiago to overcome the personal and physical trauma that life has dealt them. Through blisters, shin splints, and heat, the Camino forces pilgrims to defy their age and physical ability while also acting as a catalyst for change. Both heartbreaking and inspirational, Camino Skies is an uplifting story about everyday people doing the extraordinary. Ryan, initial thoughts on Camino Skies?
Are you going to edit this?
I am.
I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't see the point. I thought it was meandering. Forgive the pun. I thought it was one note. It was repetitive. It was aimless. And I don't think it delivered on the promise of its premise. Although I will say, I think there was some beautiful cinematography of the Camino. that would have made nice background viewing if someone's interested in going. I will say one thing, and it could have done this more. It does show the day-to-day grind of the Camino. From what, as an outside, oh, I'm going to go walk for 500 miles in this beautiful countryside. Oh, that's going to be lovely. We're going to drink wine and eat good food at the end of the day. That is true, but it is also a slog. It is also, I got to do this again today. Like, and I think it does show that. I don't know what these people were doing for foot care, but I didn't have those issues.
Right.
So yeah, I don't, of the Camino films that we have watched or will watch together for this conversation, I was really, I'm disappointed. It's not the right word because I didn't have any expectations going in, but just, okay. Am I being mean?
No, you're not being mean. You're not being mean at all. Like, at the end of the day, art is art, and it either speaks or it doesn't, right? I would say that I'm a little higher on this movie than you, only because I think that these movies, especially the documentaries, are really about perspective. And, that was one of the things that made I'll Push You stand out, right? Is like, wow, this is a really unique perspective on the Camino, because any Yahoo can make a documentary about the Camino and like say, oh, it changed my life, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I would say that what makes Camino Skies distinct in my mind is the age of the subjects, which I found to be more accurate to how I experienced the Camino myself, which is that, yes, there are some young people as you're walking, but a lot of folks are like retirees who
have the time.
Who have the time and the resources and all the privilege that we talked about earlier on this pod to actually do this trip. And the thing that comes with age is, and especially the age of the people that are in this movie, which is like 60s, like late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah, maybe one in the 70s.
Oh, yeah, and like 70. Sometimes you have a young mind and a body that isn't able to keep up. And I thought that was unique enough to sort of add some flavor.
The spirit is willing, Greg. The spirit is willing. Right?
Exactly.
No, I mean, listen, I appreciate that. I take that comment, and I see your point, because it is also a reminder that this is where we're all going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Where we're all going to be one day. And I think that's, at one point I took a ton of notes, though, to be honest, like in terms of, not really feeling it. Like there were a lot of things that I was writing down as I was watching it. And, part of me wondered if this was more a meditation on aging and dealing with loss than it is, and the links that we'll go to kind of really head on address the grief in our life. A meditation on that rather than the Camino itself. The Camino happened to be the vessel through which these people are doing that, which you and I have talked about extensively. That's just one of the many, many reasons people undertake this crazy journey.
Can I also say I kind of liked the archetypes that each of the characters in this documentary sort of filled. It's so funny whenever you talk about documentaries, I still use the word character whenever I talk about documentary, just because that's how I think of.
Well, you don't think these filmmakers looked at some of those people and said, well, there's a character.
Exactly.
They're thinking that way.
I mean, whenever you think about film, like, it is dramatic. People playing parts in dramatic circumstances. And so, even though they're real life people, they also serve a character role.
Listen, for purpose of our viewers, as our listeners, Greg said, that we're dealing with people in their 50s, late 50s, 60s, and even maybe their early 70s. And the film identifies 6 main cast members. And Julie, Sue, Mark, Terry, Claude, and Cheryl.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm remembering correctly, and I went back and looked at the names when they were on the screen, Julie and Cheryl are friends that are walking the Camino together. They're the youngest of the bunch.
Mm-hmm.
Julie has lost a husband to cancer at a relatively young age. And they've also previously lost a child together.
Right. In a tragic accident.
Which I can tell you is her story is absolutely devastating. And to me, I feel like I connected with her the most. She had good screen appeal. And I want to come back to why, because there were constantly people trying to
fix her.
Yes. And that's something we can talk about because you run into that on the Camino constantly. Sue is the old timer. She's dealing with some severe medical issues. Probably shouldn't be doing this, quite frankly. She should probably be spending the time in therapy. And then Mark and Terry are a father and a son. And Mark is the son who has lost a daughter to cystic fibrosis at a young age, also deeply tragic. And Terry is a Camino veteran who you're talking about is kind of the evangelist. And then we have this person named Claude who nails on a chalkboard, spiritual nails on a chalkboard, because that's the person who's going around trying to fix people.
Yeah.
But I think that is an archetype on the Camino and in life, especially in religious life.
Absolutely.
As you well know.
Absolutely.
So those are kind of our folks. And so I don't know if you wanted to speak into any of that before we kind of move on, but that's who's on display for us. And there's really no through line other than the Camino. I mean, it will give us updates. Okay, we're 500 miles out. We're at the start. We're 300 miles. It's that kind of pace to it.
No, I think that's a helpful frame. So let me go pair by pair. So the first pair that you talked about, Julie, her friend, Julie's really in this situation where she needs sort of emotional healing because she's had so much sort of dumped on her. This is a path where she's looking for that, but she's not looking to share necessarily. The funniest parts of this movie are when the camera is trying to find moments with her and she just keeps turning away. She's not interested in documenting the experience necessarily.
One of my favorite lines in the whole film, and I think recently in some all the films I watch, is when she says, "I don't want to talk about my dead child because then they're going to ask, well, where's the father?"
Exactly.
Holy cow. I mean, that's a gut punch.
Yep.
You could be forgiven for being completely crippled by what you went through, but you chose active grieving. Can you describe what active grieving is?
Active grieving to me is using not exercise per se, but just the whole business of actually getting up each day and having something on the horizon that you're doing to keep you busy and distracted, because grief is a process that takes over regardless. It can either control us or we can control it. And there's so much to keep living for.
The Camino, people walk it for various reasons, I guess. It's often a spiritual journey. How would you describe yours? Did you do the full 800 Ks?
I did, yeah. I did the whole thing over 35 days with one rest day in the middle. Spiritual, not so much for me. Learned more and more whilst on the trail that it is a very historically religious/spiritual trail, but I think more and more people are doing it for various reasons now, and that's just a nice aspect to it. But there's also many cafes.
And we
Another
sampled
spiritual
those.
journey,
And you're having a few wines in the evening?
That's Julie's spiritual journey. The film I come across as a total alcoholic, and I'm assure you that I am.
No, you didn't.
And just to be fair, that is constantly happening on the Camino. There are constantly people in albergues or churches or on the trail asking you why you're doing this, who you're doing this with, like all of that stuff. And it's what she's saying is right. It doesn't lend itself easily to being able to say, "Oh, I'm on vacation," or something. It's just not. It's not the same, right?
Yeah.
And then her friend is like physically struggling, really wants to do it, but her body just isn't capable. And you see so many people like that on the trail. I think that's a perfect archetype. The father-son, you're so right. The evangelist for the Camino there's always that one guy that's like, "Oh, walk this. It's going to be perfect. It's going to help you.
It's going to change your life."
Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
And I can see his son really struggling with that, right? There are some moments where it makes sense, and there are some moments where it doesn't make sense at all, which, as someone who hasn't lost a child but can only imagine what it would be like.
Yeah.
I can see it, like sometimes you have these epiphanies, and sometimes it's just chaos. And I think one of the more effective times is when he starts talking about, the sheepdog leading him through the Pyrenees, right? As like a moment where it kind of makes sense. And then the rest of it is just kind of gobbledygook. But just to get to the last two, I think that it's just wonderful, because it's like one of these women, it doesn't seem like this trip affects her at all. Like, she doesn't understand it. She doesn't get it. She just walks, and it's like, she's not really like getting anything out of it. It's just a walk for her, which I think is absolutely true for some people. It's just going to be a walk. There's no big lesson. There's no wizard at the end of the yellow brick road.
Right.
And then for the other lady, she is just, you're right about the nails on a chalkboard. She wants to fix every single person on the trail. And it's just like, dude, you need to shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's one scene, I think, where Mark, like, he just shuts down completely.
Yeah.
And gets up and walks away. And, like, how can you, I wrote about it as like the different ways that people express their worldviews or share their worldviews in the face of trauma, like, or in somebody else's trauma, where, I think the people who have taken the hard lesson to heart, shut up, know how to stay quiet and just be present. Hey, let me get you another drink. As opposed to what we see frequently throughout the film. Well, it's all going to be okay.
Right.
Here's a rosary that's been prayed over. I mean, there's a place for that, sure, but not 5 minutes after meeting somebody and they've just told you, their daughter died of cystic fibrosis, I don't know, last year. Like, yeah, anyway. But also that's a personality thing, right? Like,
it's kind of like the story of Job, right? It's like the friends who try to explain it to Job, and it's like, where you're just kind of like, you know what? Maybe don't try to the sort of a spokesperson for the universe. What was the best scene that stood out to you from this movie?
Well, I think I already tipped my hat on when she talks about not wanting to talk about her losing her child, because then that opens up having to revisit the more recent death of her husband, or just that profound tragedy. And I think just really some of the favorite scenes or even shots of just the day-to-dayness, I've already said this, but of being on the Camino, like the shots of all the boots in the lobby, of the sunset or the sunrise, particularly the sunrise, which you would normally see on the trail more than the sunset because you'd already be at, your albergue. Yeah, what about you?
Really, when Mark is talking about the dog story.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really powerful one.
Can you, like, what do you think about that in terms of somebody who's worked within churches for a long time, who has led multiple pilgrimages? Like, this man is seeking solace and seeking answers. And we do this all the time, but like interpreting something as a sign, as like, oh, that's Maddie urging me on. Like, how do you feel about that? Because I made a note of that, like of Mark seeing the dog as his daughter Maddie urging him on. Is this wish fulfillment kind of?
I think it absolutely is. First of all, I would say this, that I have heard so many, working in ministry, I have heard so many stories of people who have lost a loved one and then had some sort of experience with an animal that has been some kind, has had some kind of meaning for them. And sometimes it's a dog. It's like, oh, my grandmother passed away, and then this dog showed up at my house the next day, and I started feeding it and taking care of it, and it helped me to process my grief. Or I was sitting at the funeral and this bird flew down and landed on a whatever, or a butterfly, or there's just so many animal stories that I've heard people tell as a way of making meaning about a lost loved one. I would also say that, the funny thing about the animal stories is that the animals are just doing what they do, right? Like a herding dog in the mountains of the Pyrenees, like that's what a herding dog is going to do. It's going to move you.
Do you know what my herding dog does constantly at my house? Is tries to move me from where I am to where she wants me to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. I mean, a herding dog has an instinct to get you moving or get anything moving, that it sees. So, I just think that I think it's such a human experience where we anthropomorphize the natural world, but sometimes when we're at our most vulnerable, we read such meaning into the natural instincts of the world around us that all of a sudden it's like this epiphany to us, when really it's just nature doing what it does. We've just been blind to it, and all of a sudden we've had some kind of trauma that's opened our eyes to what it could be. For Mark, I think that it was very much a true experience of, this is his daughter communicating to him in some way. I think to an observer like me, I would say it's a dog being a dog, but I think it doesn't have to be either or. I think it can be both and.
But you and I don't necessarily, like, I can be, how should I say this? I can be my version of Claude to you in this moment, but with him, I'm going to be like, if that's what that means to you and you find solace in that and you're not hurting anybody, okay.
I would even drop if that's what it means to you. I would just go straight along with him. I would just be like, yeah, that was Maddie telling you to go up that hill. Good for you. Good for you. Yeah.
I'm glad you've had that experience.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. That's good. That's special and good for you.
I mean, that's one of the things that we talk about with this pod, which is why we've been doing it for as long as we have, is because these little kernels of meaning come out of these really bizarre places. And it's like, just because you had some kind of insight given to you by, I don't know, The Matrix or Lost or ER doesn't make it any less important of a lesson for you in life, right? Like, these things can come from anywhere. And sometimes it's from random dog experiences, on the mountains of the France-Spain border.
I had a joke. I was like, if you like old people complaining about ailments, boy, do I have a movie for you. But in that snide comment, on the other hand, though, another thing that I do, going back, it's not all bad. Like, one of the things I did appreciate, again, and this is just the life of the Camino conveyed in the film, is what drives people on. Like, what is it that outside of your own spiritual journey and seeking that gets you up and gets you going every day? And I think the film does a good job of showing how the role of hospitality and camaraderie on the Camino is so powerful. Mm-hmm. How the potential to encounter different people, the potential to enjoy each day new conversations and connections with people, and then also at the end of the day, the meal, like to share a meal, to have a glass of wine or a beer. And even Mark says that. Mark's like, as long as there's a bed and a good meal at the end, I'm going to be okay. And it's really rather simple and beautiful in that way. And so I kind of wanted to name that, for people who may watch this or wonder why we picked it. I mean, I think that it'd be hard to make a film about the Camino and not show that. That's been a part of everything that we've talked about in terms of whether it's I'll Push You or The Way or anything else. Those are always key components in these films.
Yeah, that brings to mind two things. One is the role of the hospitaleros at the albergues.
Yeah.
They can be so good at their jobs where they're able to pick up on what the needs are of the pilgrims that arrive, because they just see so many.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like their level of empathy and their sort of, ability to notice, like, oh yeah, you just need to sit down for a second, and we're going to get you some help in a little bit. And just that level of care is really neat to see, I think.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I would say is like the idea of success and failure when it comes to Camino walking. So, for instance, the older lady. Yeah.
No. Sorry. Sue.
Sue. So she has these periods where she just physically is unable to walk the Camino and she needs to take a car ahead. And so, of course, I don't think it's a bad question, but the documentarians ask, how do you feel taking a car ahead instead of walking it? And she says, I feel okay. But that question comes with it a sense of failure. You have failed to walk this section. How does it feel to have to live with that failure kind of thing? And I think that is certainly a judgment that happens frequently, I think, on the Camino, not only with other people, but specifically really with yourself. Yeah,
that's 100%.
I've failed this somehow. I've failed this entire process somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we talked about that too. There were some days in the middle of the Camino, maybe in that final, 1/3, where, it's like, should we send our packs ahead? Even that was like, well, are we cheating it? You know what I mean? Yeah. Because there, as you know, and I think maybe we've talked about, there's services that will do that and you can walk much lighter, and that's great, I think, for people who have some physical limitations or who are older. I do think it's a great service, right? That you can lighten your load, if you will. But yeah, we talked about that a lot in terms of, well, are we really walking the Camino if we do that?
Who was the best character from the film?
For me, it was Julie. But also one of the things that I wanted to mention too, because I liked Mark too, because he was the father who'd lost his daughter. I found him compelling because he's really quiet, but he has this scene, and I didn't know if you wanted to touch on this too, but his dad takes him to a small chapel, one of the many, many chapels that you walk across. And he said, when I was here last, I asked the members of this community to say a mass for my granddaughter. And his son is really moved by that. And I don't know whether Mark is a believer or not, like if he is a person of faith, but even if he's not, he is clearly moved by this. And is so grateful that halfway around the world, there are people will never meet who were praying for his daughter. I think that was really special.
Oh, yeah. It's such a powerful thought about this web of human connection that, like, people that you don't know could be having a mass on behalf of your family. Yeah.
In terms of faith writ large, no matter what sect you are, what you believe, to me, that is one of the attributes of faith, is that it knits us together across borders, across countries and cultures, or has the potential to, in ways that, nothing really, maybe sports fandom, that this kind of shared thing. And so it was beautiful to see that kind of in action in the moment there.
Yeah. I mean, I think the documentary is really about the two grieving members of the party. Like, I mean, that's really what the story is.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But I gotta say, again, I come back to, there's this one woman that's on the trail. She's like 50 something, blonde, seems pretty fit. She's just such a tag along to the rest of this group because she has no story that's like compelling at all. It's just, she has not lost anybody. She's not on some sort of spiritual, trek or anything like that. She is just a person just walking the Camino.
Here for a good time.
Really refreshing too, where it's just like, yeah, you don't have to be like the main character of the narrative either.
Also, what if you could just be the ear? Like, what if you're just the presence of, hey, I'm here. I'm going to listen. Be here. We're going to go out dancing.
Right. Exactly.
We're going to get pinchos. Like I'm here, man.
That is true. That club scene was wild.
Yeah. I never had a club moment. We did have a pincho moment where we were just in and out of bars eating.
Yeah.
And obviously with the wine, but nothing quite like like that. So, but
that was about 3 years.
Whatever it takes.
I'm from New Zealand. I'm now 72. I walked the Camino because I needed a change in life. I wanted to get something out of it. Everybody that walks the Camino, whether they say, oh, I'm just walking it for a bit of exercise, no. By the time you're finished, even the hardest of people that think it was just a jaunt through Spain will tell you that they got something out of it. I've been 3 times. First time on my own, second time in the film Camino Skies, and the third time with my eldest daughter. Now, I've written a book. There's always a catch, isn't there? I've written a book called God's Cocaine, The Addiction of the Camino. Now, to me, that's a good title because it was God that got me through. Now, I'm not going to preach to you. As far as I'm concerned, what faith you have is as important to me and yourself. I have the utmost respect. I'm Catholic, you might be Buddhist, you might be Anglican, you might be Muslim. To me, everybody deserves the same respect. So let's get that one straight.
I just think that, there's so many people who are evangelists like Terry, who are evangelists for the Camino, who are like, oh, you should walk this and it's going to mean so much to you and blah, blah, blah. And I can just see like some people getting out on the trail and being like, okay, I mean, it's fine. It's a lot of walking. I wouldn't say it necessarily did anything for me. And I love that story exists too,
Yeah.
But there's no great lesson at the end. You just kind of walked 500 miles and that was it,
Yeah.
Thinking overall about this movie and the lessons of this movie, one of the things that really stood out to me as someone who's thinking about making a documentary myself and like planning this out and how is it going to work and what are the stories going to be and all of that stuff, there was something to be said about the structure of this documentary in the sense that at no point did I ever know where they were on the trail.
Well, you know what I wrote here? It could have used more geographical context.
So that's the question, right? Is like the way that they filmed this, it was just a journey. And sometimes we were at the end, sometimes we were at the beginning. Like Mark's story comes, about the sheepdog. That happens like halfway through the movie, but he's talking about something that happened on the very first day of the trail.
That's right.
You're just on a wave, and you have no idea where you are in the entire trail. It's really just about the journey.
Yeah. Because there were a couple of spots that were really familiar to me in terms of, well, obviously Cruz de Ferro. I mean, goes without saying, but a couple of places like, oh yeah, I remember that day. And the others, I was like, wait, what part of the journey are they on? And I think you're right. Ultimately, it probably doesn't matter.
Yeah, they hit like the last 100-kilometer marker at one point. Like they make a point of saying, oh, it's 100 kilometers to Santiago.
Yeah.
And then there's like this montage that shows of like all these different places along the trail. And you never get a sense of like, okay, so are they finishing up? Are they?
Yeah.
Like, this is such a strange way to communicate that they're about to finish their trail by like skipping to all these different sections of the Camino. But I think it communicated to me that, I don't know, that the point isn't necessarily the getting to Santiago. The point is the 100%. Walking itself.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Just really quickly, we've seen 2 documentaries. We've seen a Buñuel movie. We've seen The Way. How do you think about filmmaking Camino style? Like, is there something that's knit all of these movies together? What do you think about the movie experiences that we've had this year?
I don't know if there's anything that ties all of these films together because, as you've hinted at in the question, they're all so different. So we had a couple documentaries, a couple narratives, and then obviously the Buñuel is just so weird. But I think through it all is the idea of how special this journey can be and how it might be a defining example of our search for meaning. I'm going to leave the Buñuel film aside. I just think it's so different. But I think it's our capacity to connect, even the people that we don't know, we'll never see again, and have really profound experiences that way. But I don't know. Maybe that's it for me.
I think I'm going to loop the Buñuel movie in.
All right, you're smarter than I am, so.
I think that it's what all of these things have in common is that they're all about how these trails bring with them multiple stories. And part of what makes making a film or a documentary difficult about the Camino experience is that you have to hold space for a lot of different stories. And it's like, how do you track them? How do you organize them? How do you make sense of them? How do you show growth from one stage to another? It's really hard to go into an experience like this and to make like a compelling character arc, for every story, because you're hitting them at so many different places. You have things like The Way that can bring them all together and tie them up at the end, but that's a drama. Whereas Camino Skies, like, you're leaving people at various stages of understanding or non-understanding. Buñuel is like bringing ideas of theology and stuff into the various stories. And then, the thing that sets I'll Push You apart is that it focuses on the experience of one story, right? And what does this one story mean? But even then, it's picking up other people's stories along the way and adding that to it. So I think that, like, if you go into an experience of making a documentary or trying to tell the story of the Camino, ultimately you end up doing what Chaucer did back in the Middle Ages. You just end up telling a bunch of stories and hoping that they tie together somehow.
This is you're thinking about this and how you're going to do the doc. I can tell.
Oh my God. Like, I mean, part of the problem of us is that we don't know what the story we're going to tell is. Like, we have equipment. We know that there are going to be people there, but we don't know if they're going to let us into their journeys. We don't know if we're charismatic enough to pull people in. We don't know if we're going to be focusing on one person's journey or multiple people's journey. I mean, that's the thing that makes it fun to think about and scary to think about at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, check some of these out. We've given you a bit of a primer for Camino movies. Go see what else is out there on the market. And of course, YouTube videos. There's tons and tons of YouTube documentary experiences that people have done of their Caminos, their personal Caminos, or filming other people's Caminos. So Ryan, we've arrived at the end of a year of talking nothing but pilgrimage.
Wow.
And now it kind of feels like the pilgrimage project is, as we go into 2026, it is moving into the video area. So that leaves a question for us, which is, do we keep doing the pilgrimage project as a pod? So the pilgrimage project is well underway. We've gotten lots of funding. We're still looking to get some even more funding. We've got equipment. You're going to start seeing videos come out leading up to the pilgrimage itself. And then in June of 2026, we're going to be out on the Camino walking, filming, and then coming back with podcasts and videos for the end of next year. So lots of stuff on the horizon for the PC Pilgrimage Project. Yeah. Ryan, thank you very much for talking to me about Camino Skies.
Always. Thanks for alerting me to it.
We will see you in the next year with all of the amazing pilgrimage material that we've got coming out. And until then, keep those collars popped, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.
It's all about a